Children are like sponges. They absorb everything they see and hear. So when they witness a true miracle, that's when they begin to believe that God is real. Title tonight, Bawlin Out of Control. Told by Mareese Comer, aka Church Socks. Well, hello, Brother Comer. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, and I'm excited to be a part of your show today. When I got the invite, I was, very, very moved by it and honored that you would invite me here.
Oh man, we're honored to have you. That's right. That's a understatement. Could you possibly read a little bit to start us off here um, about this character, Church Socks Church, or could you read us a little bit about that?
Yes, I would be honored to. Church Socks is the main character of my story, who actually portrays me in my life, and how he got the name and what that meant and how significant those church socks was throughout his life and how it began. And this is an excerpt out of one of the first chapters of my book. And it reads, I looked down at my feet. For some reason, all I could take notice of was my church socks. I had worn these socks many times before, but today, for some strange reason, they reminded me of many years ago. I was on my way to my Little League football game, changing my church clothes in the back of Mom's Gremlin hatchback, and I had forgotten to change my socks. It was how I got the nickname Church Socks, which forever stuck with me. It was game time, and my performance may have been enhanced by the luck of those socks. I continue to wear those church socks for good luck in every football game I played in. Even in high school, the orange, black, and white team socks may have been visible, but the church socks were always underneath. I even had them on the day I won all that money at Swamps gambling years ago. They were my good luck charms, a reminder that God was with me no matter how far I drifted away. I was staring down at them. Yeah, today was game day. I was hoping that they would bring me some luck, or better yet, a sign that God was still with me. Out of all the years I had done dirt in Pittsburgh, I had never seen what the inside of prison or jail looked like. I had moved far away to avoid such a tour. Did the move really change me, or had I just run from temptation that I had never truly dealt with? Was I hiding from something that was somewhere deep inside of me, and I felt moving away would be the only cure? Most of all, was I absent from the game and not yet truly delivered?
And that little reading there, it seemed like you gave us a large spectrum, my brother. So let's just rewind a little bit with church socks. So you was a little young guy calling you church socks, right?
Yes, sir.
So did you always were you raised in the church, a pastor's kid, what?
As a young man, at that point, my grandmother had given her life to Christ, and she was an avid church member. I'm talking about Sunday morning services, Sunday night services, Tuesday night services. If she could sing, she would have been on a choir rehearsal on Wednesday, but then Friday. So, back during them times, that was really her life. And me being her first grandson, I pretty much shadowed her everywhere, grocery store, wherever she went. But more importantly, when she went to church, I was always with her. So that's where it really began, as far as the seed being planted in my life at an early age.
So it's safe to say, like a lot of black men that probably come from our kind of background or our level of society, mothers and grandmothers a lot of times had to raise the little boys just to kind of keep it straight. Where was your father at all this time?
And we touch on that in the book. I mean, it's a lot to cover in an interview, but he definitely, I knew at that time, I knew who my father was, but I didn't really know him personally. I know him around and, so we didn't have a relationship. So I was really being raised by my grandmother and, mother was still there, but she went through her trials and tribulations. So she was present physically, but she had some things that she was dealing with that didn't allow her to be there, whether that was emotionally, spiritually, because she was fighting her own demons during that time.
But just to help us along, to explain your story a little bit more, when you say these demons that your mother was fighting of her own, do you mind sharing a little bit of kind of what rooted you, or kind of what your mother was going through at this time?
Oh, of course. And a lot of people, although it's my book, my story, there's several heroes in my story, and mom was one of them. Because of sometimes we look at how people turn out or what they become and don't know the full story. But mom had an addiction to cocaine when I was a young child. So that's where Graham stepped in and was, taking care of me and looking out for me while my mom was going through that rough time.
You said your mother had addiction to crack cocaine.
Yes.
Now, as a child, how did you even know? Like, how did you bump into that it was crack? Or how old were you when you really caught on to what your mother was involved with?
Well, during that time, I think you hear little whispers and stories, and as a kid, and that's what we have to realize today that even as a child, we're sponges. We listen, we watch, we pay attention, and we may not have a full understanding, but we're watching and just hearing certain things about that. What drugs look like, what they were. I really didn't know or understand really what that looked like until I have a moment in my book which I cover one of my really strong chapters, and it was very hard, difficult to write. But I remember vividly mom sending me upstairs to get some money out of her drawer for a pizza man delivering the pizza, and I remember looking inside of that drawer, and when I found what I thought was a light bulb, but it had a stem coming out of the light bulb, and it looked like it was just blown out light bulb. And that moment, from what I heard and looking at that, I was able to determine that this is the thing that was really destroying our home. So I decided I wanted to destroy it. I wanted to take it somewhere and smash it and stomp on it. But that moment right there, I remember being a 9-year old kid holding that light bulb looking object in front of my face, and I made a vow. The vow was that I would never use drugs. But one thing I didn't vow is that I wouldn't allow drugs to use me, which gets into the deeper parts of my story that we'll cover.
We always hear they're on drugs, they're using drugs. I never heard the spin on it. The drugs is using you. You know, you're getting worked by the drugs. And here you are saying you're 9 years old. You get this pipe. I guess you really didn't fully understand what it meant, but through the time you understood. I just want to ask you, did your mother ever recover? Did she ever succumb that addiction?
Um, my mother, as I said earlier, she's one of the heroes of the book.
Okay.
Absolutely. One of the strongest people I know after understanding what she was really going through. Because at 8, 9 years old, you still don't understand the totality of
Right.
the effects. All you do is feel some of the mood swings that she had, or there was times where I felt like I would try to help her move by
Right.
cleaning up the whole house and taking care of my little sisters while she wasn't there. And but she was my first time really seeing a true miracle happen. I remember her going to a church service and Pastor Mitchell, who was our pastor during that time, I remember him praying for her. And I remember her falling out on the floor and laying there the whole service. But when she got up many, many years ago, she never used drugs again. So that was the first time actually watching a miracle. She didn't go to no AA meeting. She didn't get put in prison. She didn't do none of those things. But once she got up off that floor, she never turned back. And that was the first time that I seen God. really work a miracle because that's what it is. I've seen many people struggle with drugs many years and can't even shake it after going through the AAs and the rehabilitations and the prison, and it's still hard to shake. And she was able to do it just by prayer.
I just want to share something on your story if I can jump on a little bit because I know that probably me and your mom are the only ones out here that's hearing this that ever have been touched with drugs or anything. But your testimony about your mother is kind of what happened in my situation. I didn't have to go nowhere. Once I gave it to God, it was done. It was finished. But you have to have that kind of heart. You know what I mean? So that says a lot about your mother.
I was probably about 12, 13, getting and going into high school when she was delivered and changed and started to change her life. And I was really at that brink of like getting into ninth grade. I was still playing sports, but I was just going into high school during that time.
Feeling your oats a little,
Exactly.
smelling yourself a little, waking up feeling a little different in the morning and all that kind of stuff. But that could get
Absolutely.
us young men into trouble. So you grow up, you're a teenager. These things, your mother is kind of straight now, but I guess this environment, let's just, for lack of another word, it resonated in you somewhat. And there are things that children can't just shake off like adults. Like you said, you really didn't quite understand the magnitude of what was really going on. So as you grew and you start understanding this, and you made this promise, I'm not going to never do this. What happened? How did it turn around to where that element started to control your life?
Well, that chapter that I described was the vow. I stayed true to the vow. I vowed that I wasn't going to use drugs, and through all of my journey of the streets, I did not use drugs because of that vow and what I seen happen to my mother. But there was two parts that I did. Like I said, there was another part that I didn't vow. I didn't vow that I wouldn't allow drugs to use me, and that's where the streets came in, where I was trying to gain and ultimately, some people look at addictions, especially when it comes to drugs, um, with the person who's consuming the drugs. But I was more of an addict than she was. And, I started loving the money, and it was controlling me. I mean, I was just on a different side of it. And in fact, in some cases, I think I was worse because now, I mean, not that we wasn't being affected by mom's addiction because we were children, but on the other side of it, I was affecting many people, many families. So it wasn't just me consuming drugs and affecting my health and affecting my livelihood, but now I'm on the other side, and there's more people affected by the person who's hustling than the person that's consuming.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. News flash. Well, I'm sitting over here telling all my business. You said that wasn't your problem. Your problem was you were the one out there um, supplying your mother. You're the one supplying the daughter, the young man. You're the boogeyman. When you say that um, the drugs were using you, my first thought was somewhere like you were saying, you're using them and they got you so caught up. But what you're saying, that's even deeper because knowing what your mother was going through, here you are feeding this to the community. And then how did that work out for you?
Oh, how it's supposed to work out. I mean, the journey what it leads to. I mean,
Well, tell me a little bit, my brother.
all right. Well, and then I'm gonna read. If you don't mind, I'm also gonna read this
Let's do
excerpt.
that. Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do
Okay.
that right now. Okay,
All
but
right.
let's set it up. Is there any place in your book to kind of lead us into where you ended up at, to like what happened with you?
All right. So there's this excerpt that I'm gonna read, and it's called "Bawlin." Now I have two chapters in my book. titled Bawlin. All right. And it sounds the same, but they're distinct. They're definitely different because one is spelled Ballin, Ballin. And then there's another chapter titled Ballin, and that one's Bawlin, which is actually the title of my book, Balling Out of Control. So during this time of my life, that's what I thought I was doing. Now, my uncles were hustlers. I was around them, watching them count money and the cars they drove and the women that they were around. And it started to influence. I wanted to be like them. We grew up in a very poverty-stricken neighborhood in Clareton, Pennsylvania, and there was a housing project, and we were poor. So the drug dealers and the people who had the shiny rims and the nice cars and beautiful women, it's very easy for young men to be influenced by that, to meet some real successful people that live better than a drug dealer would live and choose the right path. But that wasn't what I seen. So of course I was influenced by that, and I find myself wanting to ball. And this chapter here covers the first spelling of the word balling that I wanted to read to you, and it'll give you a snapshot where I was mentally during this time.
Okay.
Up early in the morning, first to hit the block, little bad mother blank with a pocket full of rocks. I was in my room blasting the stereo mom had got me last Christmas. I didn't know all the words to Tupac, but my favorite part was coming up, which said, and they say, how do you survive weighing 165 in a city where the skinny niggas die? I'm straight balling. That was the words from a Tupac song that during that era of my life that I really took a hold of because that's where my life was. It it says after we moved into the house, mom gave me the whole basement. We had moved away from the housing project during that time. So it says after we moved into the house, mom gave me the whole basement, which was like my own apartment. I could have company and she would never know they were there as I had my own door. After the first couple of days there, she called me up to the kitchen table. She said she had a few things she really needed to discuss with me. She said she had given her all to prevent me from becoming what I was at that point. And although she would never ever totally give up on me, she was turning me over to the hands of God. She went on to say that what was done in the dark would always come to the light. Selling drugs on a graveyard shift did not mean that I wouldn't be exposed. She put her head down, looking at the table, and said, son, I know you are worried about hiding things from me, but you are living a life that is so transparent.
Mm.
I can clearly see what you are doing. And guess what? The police are going to be able to see what you're doing, and if they haven't already. But most importantly, God sees everything. She then quoted Hebrews 4:13, where it said, there is no creature hidden from his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of him who we must give account to.
Amen. Amen. The only thing it leads me is did you ever catch up with the pow pow? Did it come to fruition? Did it happen like that?
Or did the po ever catch up with me? Is what you
Yeah,
gotta ask.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Did y'all connect? Do we have a meeting of the minds?
um, I remember one of the church services, Pastor Bishop Mitchell, he preached a sermon, and sometimes like it's been many years since he's passed, but I remember some of the things, sermons as a kid, and I remember him one Sunday preaching that the streets was only going to lead to death, incarceration, or even a mental home. He said, the streets, one of them things can happen. And thank God death didn't happen because I'm still here today,
Praise God.
which happened to a lot of the people that I was around, a lot of friends that I grew up with and went to school with. A lot of them are dead and gone. Thank God that I'm here, that didn't happen. But there was a piece that I had to, even after I found myself getting away from the game, moving away, trying to change my life. All the stuff that I did in Pittsburgh, I tried to escape it. I tried to run from it. I thought I can move and change my address, and that would automatically change me, and that didn't happen. So even when I moved, I still was dealing with my past, and I still was fighting those demons that was chasing me, even all the way around the world, moving across the world to Colorado. So of course, there's a part in my book where I had to face the consequences, even though I was in transition, changing. I still had to pay for some of the sins that I had committed. So yes, I went to prison, and I'll share another excerpt with you. That actually sometimes I heard a lady um, say this quote that going to Yale is better than going to jail, but going to jail is better than going to hell.
Amen.
Sweet. That was a deep quote because it means that some people that end up going to jail, uh, quite frankly, may have saved their life because they could have got killed in the streets, and that time away really allowed the people that take advantage of it. That is, allow them to change their life and wake up from that. And there's many success stories that people had that went to prison and changed their life and did the right thing and became successful.
I'm one. I'm one. That's why I wanted to get into it. Now I'm not the only one here. I don't feel like the Lone Ranger now. You know what I'm saying? Someone else who I had a pretty good upbringing. It wasn't. I've had my issues, but I had a grandma too. You know what I'm saying? And my mother didn't go through that. Our situation was a little different, but it still leaves a young male child at a disadvantage when you're not properly brought up right. Especially, I don't know you like that, but I'm taking that you're pretty outgoing. You know you're probably not afraid of a lot of things. You probably can speak your mind pretty easy, and all this kind of stuff. So when God gives us these kind of gifts, I'll call them gifts, I found in myself not knowing how to handle it, not understanding what all he built into me until, because I never went back. I don't know about you, but one stretch for me, that was, I could tell you that's not a place for me. Now you can
Right.
go do it till you stand on your head, till your ears turn red, but that wasn't no place for a brother like me. You know what I mean?
Amen.
Not for me. You take your butt to prison, you get out. Did anything change at that time, or what do you feel was a transformation point in your life to where it didn't matter? See, when you first was talking, you were saying, "Well, I tried to move here to the suburbs, anywhere in the world." But like they say, you can take the brother out the country, but you can't take the country out that brother. You understand? So no matter where you go, that demon is going to be right there with you. What is it that made this transformation when you could say no more?
Definitely was the prison. And I remember one, definitely, no question about that. It was just the mental. A lot of people watch these movies about prison and think they watch them old movies where somebody's getting stabbed or shanked or sexually assaulted. Now, I'm not saying that don't happen in those environments because we know it do, and it's just different prison environments where people are housed. I really wasn't. I didn't experience a lot of that part of it. But what I did experience, what really got to me was the mental piece, being away from my children. I mean, I wasn't worried about
Yeah,
getting into a fight and defending
right,
myself or
right.
doing that or somebody doing something to me. I was the mental part of it that, hey, my kids, I'm not there with my children right now, my family, and I have to pretty much do everything somebody says. I mean, I'm controlled by this environment. What
Yeah.
time I go to sleep, what time I can go eat. I mean, I said to somebody, I said, man, you know, when I was in prison, man, I actually went a couple years without eating a strawberry or a shrimp, which is simple to some people, but it's huge when you really think about it. Like, man, that's like a simple thing. And so, but there was a moment when I was in prison. I'll never forget. Back then, people were getting cell phones in prison. They were starting to get cell phones in the prison systems. So I had a friend that had a phone, and I was using his phone to call out to family instead of the phones that they had recorded. And so they found his phone, and they matched up all the numbers that we had on our phone list, and I was one of the ones well, one of the numbers was mine on the list. So they shipped us out to different prisons in different places, and I found myself in this hole, in this dark place. And I was there for a couple weeks, and I said, "Man, wait a minute, God! Not only am I in prison, I'm in prison inside of prison now."
Okay.
So this chapter or this excerpt I wrote because this is one of the places where I really opened up and I really broke down. This one is called Bawlin', and this is the real title of my book, Bawlin, Ballin' Out of Control. It reads, the cell was dark and dim with cemented floors and bars on the windows. Just a short time ago, I was particular about the fluffy carpet I stepped on and how many feather soft pillows I can fit on my bed. I controlled the climate of my home simply by pushing the buttons on the thermostat. Now I was in control of none of that. I remember pacing back and forth, still asking myself questions. Finally, I decided to ask God a couple things. Why was I mad at him anyway? It was because of my own decision that I was now in this cocoon. So I began to talk to God, and before I can get a full sentence, something came over me in that cell. I could barely pronounce a word as tears had overtaken me. I had totally broken down and began to cry out to God to ask Him to forgive me for my stubbornness. I remember praying in that cell until I had emptied out all the tears that I had inside of me. I confessed all of my faults and I asked God to come back into my life like never before. After that prayer, I felt a peace come over me. I decided that whatever happened to me, I would trust God and know that I was in His hands. The next couple of days, I continued to read my Bible, but now I understood what I was reading. I knew I was in a bad situation, but something happened to me in that dark cell, and I found myself bawling out of control.
Yeah, you got to get. I'm going to get a copy of the book. Where can I get the book?
Oh, you can go on Amazon
Okay, just
and
type in
look up,
Ballin.
yeah, Bawlin, balling out of control, or type in Mareese Comer. That's spelled Mareese, Comer. And then you also can go to Barnes and Noble. They have it. And right now I'm in the middle of well, I'm finishing up. I'm not in the middle of a big publishing deal that's actually going to put the book worldwide and also in different countries. I'm excited about that.
I remember when I made up my mind. I'll never forget it. Matter of fact, I might have to put you on screen while I wipe my eye. Because, I mean, it was me and my daughter. But I know when I hung my guns up, I have been to prison, still dabbling. You know, a lot of people, they say, well, when I got out, I didn't do nothing no more. I didn't do all that,
Right.
but I did something to keep my ends together, you know?
Yeah.
And then there came a time when even that wouldn't suffice. And that's when the awakening really hit me. So I guess what I'm looking for from you is that moment. I mean, you're in the jail cell, you're up underneath the jail. It's easy to talk stuff. It's easy to cry out to God when your butt's up against the wall. You know what I'm saying? I done picked my head up out the toilet. Lord, I ain't gonna do that no more. But when you got free, my brother,
Hmm.
when the elements were around you and it was truly in your control, when did you know that God has now taken over your life.
And I talked about this. We do a men's group on Saturdays, and we talked about temptations and things that we go through. And one of the things that I covered in the meeting just this past Saturday was there's a difference between abstinence and deliverance. Abstinence is when you are in those AA's meetings or you're incarcerated and maybe you can't get to some of them things, so you're abstinent from it. But when you are truly delivered,
Come
like
on.
mom was,
Come on.
then you can be around those people. You can start ministering to those people or encouraging those people that are living that life that you got away from. So it's not hiding or running away from the environments or the people, because let's keep it 100, as they would say.
Right.
The enemy's still coming at you,
Please.
even today. The enemy, after all these years, and I have my own business and life has been great, but the enemy still comes after me because he knows the deliverance part of me overcoming what I have, what my mother overcame. And so some of these other people need to hear my story so they can say, you know what? I went to prison, but life's not over. I still can overcome that. I still can be great. So that's when I knew, not the change in me, but the other, when I started caring about affecting other people, that's when I knew the change was real.
Brother, you hitting it on the head. I mean, because I look at it like that. Matter of fact, there was a question asked in church today, well, in Sunday school, about do you listen, what changes you more, seeing it or the metaphors? And what I'm hearing from you, and I believe I heard you say you have children. So to know a little bit about their father, to me, it's a good thing because those things that, even though you went through it, at this point in your life, for your children, for other children, other young men, you can be this example now. That light can shine through you now. And that's the part that I'm getting because, you know, how do they say this? Through you, God has made another masterpiece out of brokenness. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing. And that's how I look at myself. You know, I know what I did. And I can't blame mama or grandma. You know, I can't even blame my uncles. I blame my dad if I blamed anybody. But it isn't he didn't do none of that stuff. But his presence kind of threw me off a little. You know, I didn't find the bulb, but I might have found the pistol. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just different things, but they still throw us off. But my brother, this book that you have, I definitely want to get into it. Your grandmother, she sounded like such an amazing person that kind of really, you were talking about how she influenced you, and I would bet a kidney, because I can live with one, but I would bet a kidney that that grandmother was also strong for your mother. You know what I'm saying? Her light shine, her legacy, it shined through her, through her grandson. I gotta go. It's stuff. It it kind of gets me because that's why I started this podcast, because there's so many different stories of people, and a lot of times some of them I can really understand. So, my brother, do you have any other insights that you might want to read?
Well, you actually set the stage for me, and it's falling into place because you talked about grandmother. Grandmother was a very important piece of the book and the story. She was the covering. She represented that throughout the whole book, and definitely her and my mother are two heroes. My mom being redemption and recovery, and my grandmother just being a covering. She the point of me since I was a child, she had already given her life to Christ, as I said earlier, and she was just a praying woman. She not only influenced us as a family, but she influenced the whole community. Everybody
Amen.
loved her. You know, she would let people stay with her, and take care of people. Didn't want anything back. She don't remember her working a Fortune 500 job, but she had a 5 bedroom house and didn't
Come
want for
on.
nothing. You know, God provided for her. But there's this excerpt that I really want to read, because this was an important piece, and this will show you what type of woman she was.
Okay.
She knew, she was fearless. Her faith was unmovable. Like the way she knew what I was into. She understood the life I lived, but that didn't stop her from praying.
Come on
And
now.
that didn't stop her from loving me and treating me
Amen.
exactly the same. But this is an excerpt. When I think back to it, is in some ways funny, but it's so powerful of this moment that happened between me and her. But it's called Fervent Prayer of the Righteous. And this is speaking about my grandmother. My grandmother had hugged me tight, and she was the first to let go. But by the time I released my hand, she had already reached into the front of my pants and disarmed me. I guess during her hug, she was able to feel the handle of my 9mm Glock poking her in her stomach. She told me to wait right there, left, and then she came back to the room without the gun. She had a bottle of olive oil in her hand. She unfastened the top of the bottle and poured some on both of her hands. Then she grabbed both of my hands and began to pray in a tone that I had never heard from her. Felt the power of God through her prayer. When she was finished, I did not feel the need, nor did I have the heart to ask for my weapon back. She had totally disarmed me, but I felt that she had somehow given me more weapons to fight with. I knew in my heart that I wasn't where I needed to be, but I also knew that God was still working on me and hadn't given up on me yet. It was then that I decided that even though my life wouldn't change overnight, I would at least start to think about going in a different direction.
Amen. Okay, man, you got me all red eyed and everything. You know, that song came to mind about grandma's hands.
Oh yeah.
Because,
Oh
I
yeah.
have a grandma kind of like what you talking about. And I stayed with her and when things were getting a little out of hand with me. But yeah, them praying grandmas we need. Well, my brother, if there was anything that you had to say to someone, some young person, some old person that might be struggling with some things, with identity or parents in those situations, out of your book and things, is there something that you would kind of leave with someone?
Oh, it's simple. It's never too late. I don't care where you're at. I mean, I was in the
Amen.
darkest place, in a dark, dark cell, and
Under
you
the
know,
jail.
under the jail, in prison, in prison.
I hear you.
And I think back to those times, and I'm like, once, even once the deliverance happened, even when I was incarcerated and gave my life to God when I was bound. And there's another line that I put in my book that I felt more free when I was bound. And when I was free, that's when I was actually bound, because I was in, I was really, trapped by the enemy, and I was bound, but I had my physical freedom. But it took me to be bound and incarcerated to become free in Christ. So my encouragement is, it's never too late. Just don't give up. And there's a scripture that says our faith shouldn't stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. God can do all things. Some of the things that we can't do is easy to Him.
Amen. My brother, I really thank you for taking this time with me. I probably got to go blow my nose and all that kind of stuff because some of your story just hit home. That's all. It just, not my story, but I can relate to a lot of things you were talking about. And I wish that I could have turned, like you said, in prison, but I knew I wasn't going to go back that way, but I still wanted to be a little slick. I just pushed myself back a little bit. And I don't like telling that people that story because it leaves me with, you tell people, you seem stupid to go to prison and come out and do the same thing. But that's exactly pretty much what I did. And God caught me before they caught me again. And a lot of things you're saying about how it went down. And it wasn't like that. It was the drugs, the women, the hustle, that stuff, the sex urges, all that stuff doesn't just go away.
No.
But like you said, there was that encounter, and I knew I was on the right path.
Amen.
So my brother, I thank you, and I really want to get I'll be getting one of your books tomorrow. I'll call up there, so when you see that ching ching, that'll be me. And I hope that everybody else gets your book as well. And I thank you, Mareese, for giving us this time on Where Were You?
Thank you for having me, my friend. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, another episode of Where Were You? And we would like to thank our guests for this evening. Also want to thank New Me. New Me helps sponsor Where Were You? So go on and check it out. New Me /Arkway. Also, go on and hit that like. Go on and hit subscribe. Go on and hit that share. Go on and leave a comment. And if you find anyone that has a story, let me know. And hey, you bless someone today.